most overrated game.
Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I'll defend it.
Oh
Uh,
my God, you didn't. What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to Game Design 909, episode 2. And on this show, we talk to game designers, we demystify game design, we understand game design, and we talk to the most eminent game designers from the game industry in India for now, who knows about later. And today we have with us one of the friends I made in the game industry in India many, many years ago. We've been in touch, and it is Huzaifa Arab, who is at this point the creative director of a company called Hypernova Interactive, a game studio based in Bangalore. And Husefa is fundamentally a game designer. So without further ado, Husefa, how are you doing?
Thanks, Rahul. Thanks for having me here. It's so nice to do this. I wouldn't have known, meeting you so many years ago that you would be doing a podcast someday.
I know, right? I know, it's
Yeah.
crazy. So, I met Husefa at the India Game Developer Conference recently in Bangalore. It was a Web3 conference, but we got talking, we got catching up, and he told me about what he's working on. It was really excited. We'll talk a little bit about that later. We are definitely going to be getting in that. But tell us about yourself. Tell us about your origins. Tell about what you're doing. So, yeah, go for it.
All right. So I have a pretty humble origin story, really. I come from a small town called Akola in Maharashtra, right? This is kind of like a tier two city. It's 5 hours away from Nagpur, but we had like two gaming parlors in the entire city, and one internet cafe which had yes, those PS2 ones, 10 rupees an hour types. So it was, we were one of me, my friend, in fact, one of my co-founders, right? He and us, we would play a lot of games together, right? So my as far as gaming goes, I really believe that India's entire gaming infrastructure started with bootleg games, right? Like I had one of those cheap Nintendo TV games, right? And I got them when I was like what 5 or 6 years old, and we were playing Mario and all of that, right? So that's kind of how it started, and then eventually, things progressed from there. I got a computer, and I started tinkering with things around and whatnot, right? So as I grew up, I went to Pune, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't particularly good at academics. I was someone who was really curious. Like you could give me a programming book, and I would learn that very well. But if you ask me the 5 benefits of I don't know, mitosis, I would probably fail at it, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how it went for me. And because of that, the boy who wanted to become a defense scientist at one point in his life somehow found himself doing BBA, because I was really scared of my parents. I was like, okay, my
Wait,
parents,
BBA is Bachelor of Business
business
Administration.
administration.
Okay,
Yes.
right.
So I was always primed to go into the science field, right? Like, in fact, wanted to do computer engineering, right? The problem was computer. I had very good marks across the board except for chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I didn't understand why they would say, "Hey, we are okay with a candidate who has 50 across the board, but not someone who has done exceptionally well except for chemistry, right?" So
Right.
I had a problem with that, right? So anyways, I did not want to repeat a year, and my parents would have been really, really pissed. I'm like, uh, you know so I come from a family which is very what should I say, well known for being highly educated. Like my dad is a
Right.
triple postgraduate
Like
IBS
no
officer
pressure,
working.
no pressure.
Mom's a double MA PhD, bhaiya is IIT IIM. So right, when you have such giants behind you, you are the different kid,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So eventually, my parents realized that, okay, let this boy do whatever he wants to do, because
Mm-hmm.
BBA, I did well, but I wasn't really feeling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I found about this game design school in Pune. It's now defunct, but it was one of the better schools in India,
Yeah.
called the ESP Open for
So
Games.
basically, a lot of people, like
Yeah,
90% of people I meet, on the internet,
yeah.
whatever, who write to me says, actually, I wanted to do X, but my
Hmm.
parents made me do Y, or I
Yeah,
had to do Y because of society pressure, family pressure. I got into this educational course. I started doing this, but now it sucks, right?
yeah,
It sucks. And that's a common story, right? That's
yeah.
kind of like, it's also a little bit my story, except that I was in the merchant navy for a long time, but I wanted to
Wow.
join the merchant navy. I joined the merchant navy, and then I was like, okay, this sucks. I want to do something else. I want to make video games, right? So this is
Yeah.
a common theme, especially in India, where a lot of people start doing something, and then at some point they realize, you know what? I think I'm going to make my own decisions because I want to be happy. And you did that. So
Hmm.
you went to game school then.
Yeah, so actually, the journey into a game school, it wasn't so smooth, because I was confused. Okay, okay, I've done BBA. Let me just go for an MBA and be done with my career,
Hmm.
right? Like, let's start there, because that's what my brother had done, right?
Right.
So but then I found out about this thing, and I realized that okay, I can either keep lashing out my entire life and feel bad about myself, right? Or I can do something that I've always done. And you know what the decision making point for me was that the college had an entry process. They wanted a portfolio. So the college itself was selective, and they wanted you to show that you have some game design experience to begin with.
Right.
And I saw, because I was joining for the master's course, right? So when I looked at what I had over like the last 8 or 10 years, I had made a lot of small projects, right? These are like maps for different games, or
Hmm.
modding projects, whatnot, right? I had done a lot of that stuff. I even learned C++ and DirectX, and that was because my dad one day got a book for me from Bombay, and that was
Right.
probably the only book in town
Hmm.
that was about game development, right?
Right.
So I realized that this is something that I was working towards subconsciously, whether I knew it or not.
Right.
Somehow I was doing that all along.
Hmm.
So I took a leap of faith, and I'm so happy I did that.
That leap of faith, man. That leap of faith, right? This is golden, right? You were somewhere and you were unhappy. Like, you would have probably made a living, right? You would have been
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
comfortable. Yeah, like your tummy would have been full. You would have had a roof over your heads, but you wanted creative satisfaction. You
yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
work on something that you loved. You wanted to come in on Monday morning, not thinking, oh God, Monday morning. It's like, yeah, man, Monday morning,
Yeah,
let's do this, right? And I tell people, like, when you make games, that's what it is. You're
yeah,
like, Monday
yeah.
morning, man, let's like play the latest build. You know what I mean? Like that, it's
Yeah,
that
yeah,
feeling,
absolutely.
right?
That's exactly how I thought it would go. And I was a little lucky that my parents saw through this. They saw that okay, this kid, he's not done well in academics all along, but boy, if you give him a project, he really takes it up, right? So they took a flyer on me. And back then game design courses were very expensive. Like the course I went to was like what, 15 lakhs for 2 years, right? So it was very expensive, but you know what, that was the price. That was the gatekeeping price, right? Today it's a lot simpler, right? There are this knowledge is a lot more accessible, and for good. I'm happy about that.
Right.
So really, what
So then
happened was I went to. Yeah.
yeah. So what was it like at game school? Like, was it
Okay.
while you were in there? Because there's also a lot
Yeah.
of debate around, should I learn by myself? Should I
Yeah.
learn from the internet
Yeah.
versus going to a structured program? I went to Vancouver Film School, right? And that's
Got
where
it.
I
Got it.
learned game making. And now at
Got
this
it. Got it.
point, I've started Gamer to Maker because I'm finding
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people the internet has so many videos, right? They're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't need to go to a structured program. I can just watch YouTube videos for free and take like a 299 rupees Udemy package. And that's it. I'm going to be a game maker, you know?
That's a very good question. I'll tell you what. I had once asked a similar question to my brother regarding MBA. I was like, okay, you can do MBA in your local city town, or you can do it in IIM. What's the difference? And he told me that MBAs will teach you the same 36 subjects that I learned in BBA in 3 years. They will teach the same stuff in 2 years. That's not the value add. The real value add is the network that you build over there.
Boom.
Right. So the people that at an IIM Ahmedabad, the people that you make friends with over there will be VPs and CEOs, and they'll go on to doing really big things. And when you join an organization, they will not hire you just because of your skill. They'll also hire you because you have that network, right? You have those connections. Because I've learned that no solo man can make an entire game by himself. At least a very good game. Maybe there might be one or two exceptions, and
Yeah,
we
so
all know about
this is another thing, right? Solo development is really romanticized, especially in the West, because 1 in a million solo projects makes it, and then all the focus is on solo. So everybody is like, oh, I can do this solo project. I can just sit down. I can make this whole game myself and have a career. And I'm like, no, dude, this is massive survivor bias here. Like, game development is done in teams, right? There is maybe the odd outlier, 1 in a million, which a solo developer actually creates a game and it does well. But that's not the norm. Game development is actually a team effort.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one thing that the school I was in got really right. So they used to simulate studios. They would go ahead, make teams of kids, and we were all game designers. That's the fun part. It was a game design course, but we all had to do everything. We had to do the programming, we had to do art. So it kind of gave us a taste of everything. And eventually, by the end of the course, we had done a lot of projects together, and we understood the importance of teamwork, right? We understood the importance. Like initially, people would be like, "Hey, I want credits as game designer, project manager, game producer." Like they would want all the credits. So everyone was trying to hawk credits, and everyone was trying to do everything, and they would all suck at everything.
Right.
And then eventually, towards the end, people matured, and they were okay choosing one role and being good at it. And that's one very important thing that I think most people took away from that course. Another thing I also realized was people they really grew in terms of how should I put it, being backed into a corner. Like there are so many people who did not know programming, but they learned it. And once they learned it, they realized that actually they wanted to do more of that. And that's kind of the career path they carved out, right? So I really think making games solo is a it's a romantic thing. I have been there. I know I wanted to make a crisis like game myself, right? So yeah, good luck, right? So, but eventually you realize that it's just better done in a team. Now, whether a team is sitting next to you or virtually, that's really up to you guys and how you communicate. It boils down to communication, right? And I'll give you a very good example. So when my college ended, we were all supposed to do an internship in a studio. But around that time, Square Enix had joined the Indian game dev scene. They had entered the Indian market. This was in like 2012 or something, and they had announced the game dev competition for professionals and students.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So my college was like, hey, why don't you go ahead and instead of doing an internship, we'll give you a budget. We'll give you 14 people. You make a game and put an entry from on behalf of the college, and we count that as your internship.
Nice.
So there were like some 7 Frenchmen and there were 7 Indians in that team, and I was in charge of the team. And over 3.5 months, we developed this game called Cloud Shepherd.
I remember Cloud Shepherd, the one with the rotating thing. Dude, I remember that game. I remember looking at that game. I was like, Who made this? Was this made in India? I remember that game. It was amazing.
Thank you, thank you. So that was, I believe, my first experience at making something and putting it out there in front of an audience, right? And we submitted that and we won the first prize, right? And there were quite a few professional game studios that had competed in that competition. So as a student, when you realize that you have you have won up some of your more experienced peers, industry peers, it's a feel good moment, right? So that was kind of like a feather in the cap for us at that point. And after that, I think my entire career took off, because
Mhm.
after that whole thing, I was approached by quite a lot of small publishers. These are independent publishers who wanted small games made. And I, during this entire college thing, I had developed this unique ability to, it was unique back then. Now I think a lot of people have it, uh, being able to code and design at the same time, right? Like being
Right.
able to do both, right? So I would basically just take up everything except for art, and for like a small amount, say 50,000, 1 lakh rupees, I would make the game for them and deliver it, right? I would do
That's
that
nice.
in like 2 or 3 weeks, and I would be very happy. They would be very happy. They got a game made for cheap, and that was it. So that's what I did for quite some time. um
Awesome. Awesome. So now that
mhm.
and that's how you started Hypernova Interactive. Is that it?
Not really. There was quite some time left for that. So what had happened was, I have a co-founder. His name is Mayur.
Mm-hmm.
He's my best friend for like most part of the last decade. In fact, we both met in Akola in the same gaming cafe I was talking about. Right?
Right.
He was playing Warcraft. I was playing. Sorry, he was playing Dota.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was playing Dota on the Warcraft engine back in the day, and I was playing Age of Mythology. And I walk up to his table and I'm like, "Hey, what is this game?" And that's how we bonded. And he was like, "Hey, why don't you come to Pune to study over there, and
Right.
I'll introduce you to a lot of gamers over there, and we have these games to gaming zones over there, and people sleep in the gaming cafes." And that was a time where it was the wild west, right?
Right.
And I did that. I went to Pune, and I would ask my dad for 350 bucks a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my dad that, "Hey, I'm actually staying in a hotel, so I need
Mm-hmm.
350 bucks a day for that." But actually, I was locked into a gaming cafe throughout the day.
You're kidding. You were sleeping there.
Yes, I was there. I was staying there. We would bunk. We would bunk, right? We would bunk college. We would bunk everything. We would just play games 24/7. We would eat Maggie, have Coke. That was what it
That
was,
is
right?
insane. That is
It was one
crazy.
of the most fun, and we made some really good friends there, right? So it was a crazy time, and I don't think that time will ever come back, because now everyone has their own personal gaming PCs and phones and
Right.
consoles. So again, I met Mayur like that, and we were all together, and we joined college together. And eventually, when the college ended, right, Mayur went on to joining Zynga, and I joined Hike Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Hike Messenger at that point was a very serious competitor to WhatsApp in India,
Right.
and they had started a gaming division. And so Hike hired me to lead the gaming vertical
Mm-hmm.
as a principal game designer. And I stayed with Hike for almost 2.5 years. I worked on like 5 or 6 projects. Quite a few of them didn't make it the light of day, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them that I worked on, in fact, the um, I still remember the first project I worked over there was this game called Street Chaser. It was a
Mm-hmm.
game where you're supposed to chase a thug and catch him.
Right.
Okay, and this is around the time when Subway Surfers was really popular. So
Mm-hmm.
someone in the studio came up with the idea, कि, hey, running game ke jagah, let's make chasing game,
Chasing game.
right?
Right.
And that project was in development hell, and that was my first experience of development hell, because
Okay.
the project went on for like 1.5 years,
Okay.
and we were still not ready. And I still
Okay.
remember one day the studio head comes up to the whole team, and like he takes us out for a coffee, and he breaks the news that, hey, he's killing the project. And it's like, wait, this is something that have been working for the last 1.5 years. So you know what, once we came back, we were also kind of relieved
Yeah.
at some point. You know what, we're out of the cell. We're out of
Right.
this hell. That studio head eventually, when I quit the company, he invested in my company in Hypernova, right?
Nice.
Because I'm guessing he liked our work or whatever, right? But the point is, you learn the most from failures,
Yes,
and I
that's
learned
true.
a lot.
But the thing is, you have to kind of really look back. You have to have the
Hmm.
guts to look back at failure in the face and say, all right, dude, let's talk.
Yeah,
Why did you come into my life? Right? You can't run away from that. Like, you have to put a little bit of distance behind that and be like, okay, it
yeah,
hurts. And then you say,
yeah,
okay, let me look at you in the face, Mr. Failure, and
yeah.
understand why you came to my life. And I think you did that.
Yeah, yeah. And so basically around late 2014s, what happened is, or early 2015, both me and my co-founder Mayur,
Mm-hmm.
we met up and we were talking about how Dota does not exist on iPad or
Mm-hmm.
mobile. And we both started this company with that vision that we wanted to bring esports for mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And this is way back when even mobile legends did not exist. A lot of games did not exist. Vainglory was there kind of, but what we had come up with was a totally unique control scheme. So we had our own ambitions and whatnot, and it took us quite some time to realize that we were a little late to the party.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, we found a totally new direction after that.
Awesome, awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about the gamer, Huzaifa. So tell
Mhm.
me about what
Okay,
games you
sure.
like to play, like,
Mhm.
and what you would like to play. You know.
Mhm. So I think that's a very tough question because it's the same burnout problem, right? Like I have over 1,000 games in my Steam library. I have Game Pass on my Xbox, right?
Right.
So there's absolutely no dearth of what games I could play. The real problem is time these days,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of game designers who do the right work, they would not have a lot of time to actually play games, right?
Right. Because yeah, you look at that game over there. It's like, should I play? Oh no, I have this to-do list of things that I need
Yeah,
to do, and once I'm done with that, I'm gonna play. And then
yeah,
it's
yeah.
11:30, and you're like, I'm really sleepy. I should probably go to bed now.
Exactly, exactly. So the thing is that it's a very big myth, right? That game designers play games all the time. No, they don't. They're busy making the game. But I have found a strategy around it though. So, like for
Aha.
example, in our company right now, we're working on an open world game right now. I'll talk a little more about that later. So, I'm tripping a lot on GTA 5 these days,
Right.
and research, right? It's
Research.
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 So I kind of get away with that both at office and workplace because I'm researching, and that kind of gives meaning to your fun, right? That gives meaning to your fun. So this is usually what I do, and every time I'm working on a project, I totally go in and out of all the big games in that genre, and I think
Mhm.
that has really given me. It's a tiebreaker. It helps me pick one game that I want to go after completely and
Mhm.
deeply. But yeah, if I had the time, if I had all the time in the world, I really, really want to play all the Final Fantasy games ever. I I don't. I think it will stay as a fantasy for me.
I know exactly what you mean. Like, I'm almost done with Halo Infinity, and I think
Oh
I
wow.
missed three. I missed three of the previous Halo
Okay.
games, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I should really go and play Halo Reach and all these games. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And I know in the back of my mind, I'm not going to have the time
Yeah.
to do that. So I know exactly what you mean. So
Yeah.
you know the archetypes, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
among the archetypes, like battles archetypes
Yeah.
or whatever, what kind
Yeah.
of player are you? Have you do you have an idea about that?
So I would say, so Bartles theory has four archetypes, right? There's the killer, there's the socializer, there's the explorer, and there is an achiever, right? I would say I'm at. I think there is no particular. There is no one in this world who belongs to just one archetype. There's
Yes, it's
always it's a
always a mix.
spectrum,
Yeah.
right? It's a mix. So I would say I'm like 60% I'm a killer. I'm 20% a dominator, and the rest is an explorer, and I'm barely an achiever. I don't care about achievements. I don't care about show off as such, right? But if you ask me today, I think I would add a fifth type to it, and I would call it the tinkerer. I
Ah,
love to experiment.
right.
So that's kind of where it's at for me.
That's fantastic. All right. So now I know, and we know that you guys at Hypernova are working
Yeah.
on something, right? I've seen the teaser you put out, and it's super intriguing, right?
Yeah.
So can you just give us a quick intro about that? Tell us what you're working on.
All right. Interesting. What we have this here is this amazing team that is really, really passionate, and we have the ability to make games that are of really good quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also realized that there's a huge gaping hole. It was like what, 2020, and we realized that there was not a single big game that came out of India that was made for Indian audience first, right?
Right.
There were some games that were adding like chuma one auto over here, that
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
this is my Western game, I've put an auto and I've put a
Yeah, yeah.
Tiranga flag,
There,
and
there
it's
are there
done.
are a lot of people, there are a lot of like basically fundamentally Western tropes and mechanics with a little
Yeah.
bit of a sprinkling of an Indian theme and Indian characters
Yeah.
on top. But fundamentally, it's that game with
Correct.
some
Correct.
Indian, and Indians are like, okay, not no thanks. I'll go with that
Exactly.
Western one.
Exactly. So I really feel that there there is India is going to see its Sholay moment
Mm-hmm.
for games, right?
Mm-hmm.
What Sholay did to the Indian movie industry, I think
Mm-hmm.
there is going to be one game. I hope the game we are making will be that game.
No,
But
we already have Raji, right? So Raji, I
yeah.
think I would say is for Indians. I'm quite
Yeah,
proud of Raji because Raji is the first
absolutely.
Indian game name that has done well. So we
Absolutely.
guys, like our studios as Indian developers are going to kind of have a little bit of a head start because they have
Yeah.
kind of been set the beachhead. So
Correct.
kudos to them, right?
Absolutely. Avachal is a very good friend, and he comes from the same college, right? He was my junior. So I really believe that there are some great people out there making good games, but for us, the focus was the masses, right?
Mm-hmm.
India as a market, when you look at the numbers, more than 95% of the gamers are on mobile, right?
Right.
So for us, it was very important to make the game accessible, yet make it large format, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make it more than a simple board game or a simple card game, right? And that's where we're like, okay, you know what is the game that people really, really relate the most to beyond Mario and beyond PUBG, right? It's GTA, right?
GTA, right?
And that's where we got the initial seed of an idea from, that okay, you know what, there is something here. And we started digging a lot. We did like 2 or 3 months of market research, and we were dead sure, by the end of it, we were dead sure that okay, we have to do this, and we started the whole process, right? And now it's been over 2 years, and we have built basically most of the you could say the vertical slice in
Mm-hmm.
gaming. When you say you're making a vertical slice, you have made all the features in the game,
Mm-hmm.
but there is some more content left to be made, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where we are at right now. And uh, you know for us, the most important thing was making sure that the game is culturally relevant, right? When people play the game, they should feel like they're in India. They
Right.
should feel like the characters are speaking their language. It should not feel like a dub or
Mm-hmm.
a or a prank, right? It should
Right.
feel more than that, and that's really what we are trying to do. And we are keeping the game very, very raw, right? Like you look at any OTT television series, Mirzapur, or
Right.
or even
Right.
movies like Gangs of Wasseypur, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're very raw, and that's where we're going with this.
A lot
We
of
are basically
BCMC kinds, like it's in there, it's raw.
exactly.
Yeah, right.
So you will know what I mean by that. We are coming up with a trailer very soon.
Oh yes, dude. I saw your reveal, and it was basically
Yeah.
it was so cool. It was looking at people who had played the game, and from their
Yeah.
reaction, I was like, dude, I want to play this game. Show me a trailer. Show me something quickly.
Soon, my friend, soon. So, Underworld Mayanagari, it will be out in closed beta by the end of the year.
Yes.
And who knows, we might even do an alpha even sooner, right? So let's see where that goes. But right now, I would say it will be the India's first open world gangster game for mobile, right? And the goal
Yes.
has always been to make sure that it runs across most phones, but at the highest quality possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Highest quality possible on mobiles, right? It's very easy to go ahead and say that, hey, I'm making a game in Unreal Engine 4 and I'm going to dial up the graphics to 10,
Right.
but it'll run on exactly 7 computers across India,
Yeah. I
right?
know what you mean. Right, exactly.
So,
Technically,
yeah,
technically, from a design perspective, this is like a very ambitious project. Like it's super exciting, but it's kind of
yeah,
terrifying to think of
yeah.
the optimization that you're gonna have to do for this particular game. So really looking forward to that, Huzaifa, and all the
Thank you.
best to your team.
Thank you.
We
Thank
are
you.
waiting for that with bated breath. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Now we are going to have the spicy seven questions I'm going to be throwing at an unsuspecting Husefa, and he will have to answer them. All right.
All right.
Who is your favorite game designer?
Jonathan Blow.
All right. Who is your favorite video game character?
Video game character, I would say Trevor from GTA 5.
Ah, all right. That makes sense. All right. Best story and narrative of any game that you've ever played.
Last of Us, hands down.
The game you like but
Yeah.
suck at.
I would say Mortal Kombat. I really love it.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Most overrated game.
Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I'll defend it. It's Mario.
Oh my God, you didn't. You didn't. We're probably gonna have to have a separate call just for this answer of yours. But okay. All right. Now, your favorite fictional universe. Now, it doesn't have to be from a game. It's just a universe that blew you away.
The one that I really connected with the most was actually The Walking Dead, both the game and the series. And I think they did a very good job of making sure it felt seamless across the two properties.
All right, awesome. And for the last and spiciest one, if you had $1 million right now and you had to invest in an Indian game studio apart from your own, which Indian game studio would that be?
Okay, that's it's a tough one and it's not, but I would say it has to be my good friend Himanshu, his studio Sigma Games. I think they're doing
Games. Yes, he's going to be coming on this show, guys. Himanshu is going to be coming soon on that game, and it's going to blow you up. But that's a good one. Sigma Games is a good. I would probably, if I had it, I'd probably split 50 there and 50 on Hypernova. So yeah, you got my answer there. All right, guys, that was a spicy 7, and this was awesome, guys. So I'm going to put the links for Husefa in the description of this video. I'm going to put his LinkedIn, Hypernova, etc. So if you want to get to know more about him, everything is in the description of this video. So thank you so much, Husefa. That was awesome. Thank you for being with me on Game Design 909. All the best to you guys for Underworld, Mayanagari, and hopefully this is the first of many podcasts that we're going to be working on. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rahul.